It's time for Declare Your Independence with Ernest Hancock.
Believe me when I say we have a difficult time ahead of us. But if we are to be prepared for it, we must first shed our fear of it. I stand here without fear because I remember that I am here not because of the path that lies before me, but because of the path that lies behind me. I remember that for 100 years we have fought these machines. And after a century of war, I remember that which matters most. We are still here! Tonight, let us make them remember we are not afraid!
Rest in peace, Aaron Zellman. Aaron Zellman is the founder of the Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership, JPFO. Aaron Zellman, I like to call him a friend, and we've known his existence since mid-'90s. And what happened was he represented an entire philosophy that he understood what firearms represented, being of Jewish descent himself. I could do a whole show on Aaron. Glenn Jacobs put this up today. He passed away probably about a week ago, and no one knew about it. And once we knew, of course, it goes on top of Freedom's Phoenix. Aaron Zellman, where he really came to the front was his uncompromising stance on Second Amendment issues. And there's a lot about him. You go to just put JPFO into a Google search, and you'll find out a lot. How we knew about him is he worked with L. Neil Smith quite a bit, and Claire Wolfe, and a lot of people I respected. And when we started SAFE, Second Amendment is for Everyone, we really took on his stance, the leadership that he had in this battle. Because in the late 60s, when they did, after RFK was assassinated, Robert Kennedy, they did the gun control laws in 68, I believe. And during World War II, they had translated the Nazi laws, the gun laws, and they could see that the gun laws of 1968 were like carbon copies. In fact, as I remember right, what happened was there was one of the attorneys that later became a congressman that worked during the Nuremberg trials, and they took it and they just copied it. And they passed it as legislation. And what he did is he created a pamphlet, a softbound book. And on one side, it had the translated Nazi version, and on the other side, the United States version, and you just read right straight through. It was like the same thing. Well, I remember in the mid-'90s, there was a firearm group out of Tucson, and they put up, all those in favor of gun control, raise your right hand, and they had a picture of Hitler doing the Sieg Heil salute. And it was a billboard that went up and all over the valley, down in Tucson, and it got a lot of support. People were sending money, put them up more and more and more and more, and it was to highlight this fact. So you can see if you know history and you know what's coming, it's pretty easy if you're not looking to just create a voting block. You're not going to compromise on whether it's going to be an instant background check or a 3-day wait period or any of that crap like the NRA was doing. That's how we created this culture of understanding what's going on here and a lot of the lawsuits that I've done and so on. And it was to just change the culture in the minds of the people to understand why the Second Amendment was there. The Bill of Rights was the compromise the libertarians of the day, the anti-federalists had, so they didn't have another revolution, this Constitution thing. So, Aaron, rest in peace, brother. And he was scheduled to be a speaker at, I think it was 2002 or 2003, and then he canceled. And he called and he said, Ernie, I refuse to fly. I'm not going through all this stuff. They had just started doing all this, TSA stuff and, being all restrictive on flying. And he just decided he's not flying anywhere anymore. He just said, nope, not doing it. Not doing it. So I'm sorry that he was never a speaker at Freedom's Phoenix. And this is It's sorry to see him go, but he deserves some attention. Now, what I'm going to do is I wanted to read you the submission that's in the book by Walter Block. And Walter Block, I Choose Liberty, autobiographies of people that were in the freedom libertarian movement that he thought should be included. And my article is from 2002. And he's been compiling this for several years. That was 8 years ago. And when I found out they put this in there, I'm like, wow, okay, I think I remember participating in that. Mark has a great article also. So I'm going to read it to you so you kind of understand that this is 8 years ago. I have an article I wrote back in '94 that when I finally came to realization what was really going on, and that you can do it, the legitimacy of government. You just put legitimacy of government, Ernest Hancock, and that'll blow up all over your Google. Because I forgot I even wrote that until it started coming back to me. And I'm going, oh yeah. It was an email exchange I had on some gun rights group one time, and somebody was going on about the Constitution and everything. I'm going, really? That's it? That's what you get it from? So I'll go ahead and read this to you. I think it's good to get into the archive. Being libertarian, I only seek the truth. By the time I was 28 years of age in '89, I had been lied to far too many times by representatives of the government for me to put any faith in what they had to say. As will most libertarian activists, I had personal experiences with government that made it clear that they were not the defenders of freedom, but its enemy. I was young and naive and wanted to help my father's company help himself and the USA by exporting his already domestically successful product overseas. And it was camping trailers for touring motorcycles, and that's a long story. What I was exposed to at every level of government made it very clear to me that the world was not as it was being reported on the nightly news. Soon after, I realized that the media was part of the deception. Everywhere I turned, there was another layer of red tape and lies that provided nothing more than jobs for those who produced nothing in return. With my fourth child just born in 1989, I was heavily invested in the future of this country and keenly aware that our government had gone over to the dark side. Just this last year, we have been first-hand witnesses to the passing of laws that I didn't expect for another 10 to 15 years. And many thought that I was exaggerating even then. The only people that I came into contact with that had a full understanding of what was going on without having to embellish it were libertarians. They were clear-minded for the most part and had the understanding of the need for a clear message that wasn't cluttered up with details of what people should do with their freedom once they got it. A good libertarian friend, Kent Van Cleve, which is, he's going for his PhD in Indiana University, and his wife, Fran Van Cleve, is a pharmacist, and she also writes science fiction novels, and they're very intelligent people. Made it very clear that libertarianism is a means to an end. Libertarianism is the process principled people advocate to regain their liberty in order to deserve the freedom that they seek. The goals are left up to the individual. The idea that you can force freedom on someone else is stinking thinking from the beginning. I found what I was looking for. I was free to do as I wished as long as I didn't initiate force upon another, thus violating their rights. Cool. My first contacts were Gary Fallon, Mike Duggar, Kathy Hare, and Rick Tompkins. These people answered all of my questions, first time that ever happened, and I would later come back with more. They were all principled, articulate, and I strove to be as consistent. A copy of L. Neil Smith's speech to the Salt Lake City Libertarian Party National Convention in 1992 was given to Mike Duggar by Rick and Kathy. They saw it presented in person and knew we would like it. Our favorite part was the quote, "Those Nerf libertarians with their foam core platform." We knew exactly what he meant, and we immediately became friends with him and his family and fans of his books. Arizona activism was greatly influenced by this no compromise, call him as you see him, in the face of the enemy style of L. Neil Smith, tempered with the easygoing demeanor of Rick Tompkins. Each of us added our own special energy to what quickly became the most voter-supported libertarian group in the world. Decentralization was the key. Freedom, baby, yeah! When we come back, I'll go ahead and finish this. Maybe we'll read Mark's, because this is good stuff to get in the archive. We'll be right back.